Good afternoon, fellow patriots and defenders of democracy. Welcome to the madness. Before we even go anywhere within this, we are going to talk about two things. One, today is Paul Walker's birthday, and as the person that inspired so many younger people to get into the car scene, essentially, you know what it is, Fast and the Furious franchise. Paul Walker was one of the leading characters, and he unfortunately passed away in an accident in his Porsche. And today's his birthday. Today everybody is showing their respects and shouting out the actor who inspired a lot of us and essentially made the 2JZ platform this coveted thing within the movie industry and the real world. So, from that, we're going to go into something a little bit more serious in regards to what's going on with GM and all the things that GM is dealing with at the moment, i.e., transitioning into trying to maintain its profitability as a global entity and how not to make their workforce feel more disenfranchised. Before we even go anywhere, what we do need to talk about, in essence, is that GM, over the years, GM filed for bankruptcy protection in 2009, during the last major recession, the global recession that basically impacted everybody. The people saw the value in ensuring that they don't pigeonhole the company and would have crippled it at then, made some successions to ensure that going forward everybody would be good. However, within the current job market in the United States, it's been common practice for a lot of companies to hire temporary employees through agencies that they're essentially paying. The agency is getting 40, sometimes 50% the same amount that the employee is getting. So in the event GM hires the employee and they're paying them $15 an hour, they're also paying the company $15 an hour on the other side, because this way GM doesn't have to put in for, I know, after a while, you don't get hired, you don't get to file for unemployment, they don't have to do any social security contributions. It's essentially a way for the company to maximize profits. They're just shouldering this upfront cost, essentially a one-time payment, as opposed to if you get unemployed, you get injured or anything like that, they would have to pay continuously going forward. So all of this is just financial posturing that we all have going on. The other major thing that's going on with GM that no one's talking about within its impending strike negotiation is the instability and the ability to quickly adjust to global economies and global shifts, and possibly to the president tweeting random stuff to China and, impacting the cost of metal or some asset that you need to build your product going forward. GM also has a major recall. They just sent out a recall for 3.4 million vehicles that they have. Essentially, they're big trucks, SUVs, and this was not really on some free will of their own, but basically under pressure from the federal government. The recall covers the GMC Sierra 1500, 2500, and 3500 pickups from 2014 to 2018, and it also includes the Cadillac Escalade, or Escalade as you would call it, from 2015 to 2017, the GMC Yukon, the Chevy Suburban, and the Tahoe from 2015 to 2018. And essentially, that's going to be expensive. Essentially, as this recall goes, this recall is not something very minor. You'd see stopping distance from a standard vehicle weighing, a ton and a half. A standard car weighs about 3,500 pounds, and its 0 to 60 braking distance is typically about 120, maybe 140 feet. Now, if you add that to a heavier SUVs are about 5,000 pounds, depending on how luxurious the model is, maybe 2-3 tons. The recall is in connection to a brake assistant vacuum system failing, which essentially will increase the stopping distance required, which could lead to accidents and the endangerment of the public and, the well-being of the people, and essentially tarnish the brand. But given as big as this news is and the amount of 3.4 million vehicles that are actually a part of the recall, I'm surprised this is not really getting much news. No one's really talking about this. No one's really pushing it all over the place. It's not being picked up. It's just another day, a major corporation said something, and some major lapse happened. So within all of this, I'm trying to figure out at what point is the quality assurance team on the workers' side being held accountable for this, or is it the engineering department that didn't really quantify this as something that's probable to happen, and we're just casually just going along like everything is okay here. In regards to addressing the recall itself or fixing the problem, GM is saying that the dealers will recalibrate the electronic brake control module at no cost to the consumer, and the owners will be notified starting supposedly September 6th, but within that, people move, people don't update addresses, and I'm certain they're not going to just blast all of this out at one point, because that could be expensive, and the name of the game within any major corporation is always to maximize profits. The other thing that we're going to sit back going on here is that this isn't something new. This was something that was reported quite some time ago, and the National Highway of Transportation of Safety, or whatever it is, they've been investigating this for over a year, and apparently this only became a pressing issue after they, I guess, applied pressure to GM themselves, and this is after essentially over 100 complaints from consumers that their brakes was semi-failing. But everybody's gonna really say that the caveat for the company is saying the brakes are still exceeding the federal requirements, so while they are failing, they're still operating within the required federal minimums set that we have in place. So other than that, I'm not really sure, because the other thing that no one talks about in regards to many of these major corporations are, while they're American companies, the majority of their work is being done in Mexico or outside of the country, and then they ship the vehicle back into the country, because essentially you can pay somebody in Mexico $2 or $3 an hour to do the same thing that you'd require to pay someone here $30 to $35. It's economies of scale. It's what they'll send you to business school for. But you know what exactly are your thoughts on this? Are the unions in right that the companies, while the company is in seeing this highlight in profit spikes, should it be shared with the workers, or should the company still endure and do what it does, maximize profits to benefit the shareholders? Because that's essentially what companies do. That is always what a company does. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, or where your bed lies within all of it. The company is not looking out for the worker. The company is looking out for the company, and the company is looking out for the shareholder. So where's the middle ground? And within all of this, how can GM be competitive in the event it has to compete with all the global entities that are providing cars here and not being held to the same standards? Like, people aren't really paying American wages to people in China or wherever other vehicles are assembled and put together. But let me know your opinions. Other than that, it's Paul Walker's birthday. Oh no, go watch the first Fast and the Furious. The other ones are just... Listen, I'm still trying to figure out how long that runway is. Like, yo, this plane don't stop. It's 200. Other than that, thanks for checking out the channel. Talk to you guys later.